on my wildest dreams. Maybe that one could have carried me streets of gold. Things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Sure they gave them second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. Times gone by, I've traded like dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end.
Good morning, Robertson County. This is 1100 WSGI. Bill and I are just sitting here talking off mic, and I was like, why don't we just invite everybody else in on the conversation?
Almost forgot the radio.
This is 1100 WSGI. I'm Utah Laverne. This is Bill Jones. This is one street over. A chance for us to see what's happening one street over from where you are. And I'll just kind of tease what's coming up. I got Jim and Charlotte Gray coming in here at 7:30 to talk about the Tour of Gardens, which we're so excited about. It is a fundraiser, of course, for Martha Song, and it's just a wonderful opportunity for you to go out and see some beautiful gardens in this area. And I'll put up some links in on Facebook here as we get going with it. But just a wonderful thing that we're going to get to visit with the Grays. They're old friends of mine, and so I called them last night and I was like, "Hey, can y'all come in and do this show?" So it's going to be fun. But Bill is somebody that I can always call and say, "Hey, I got an open slot here. Can you come in and talk to me about something?" Because he's always interesting.
Never know what we're going to talk about.
Well, my husband goes, "I love it when Bill comes in, and I said, "Well, what about when I'm just in here by myself?" No, I like it.
Get
when
him
Bill
in
comes
there with me here.
Mark. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking about AI. Are you talking about the what do you call the thing that you put on the
VR.
the VR deals that and
Where,
it's
you
interesting.
looks like big binoculars or something you wear on your head as a visual reality. It's
Yeah.
there are games on there now, but I had an idea that might be a good thing to use to attract children or teenagers in church activities. And then I found this company or somebody who was doing it, and then all of a sudden they went out of business. So I'm back to square one again. Got to develop something that will work there. I think will work, and somebody's probably doing it. I just don't know.
There was something that I got a few years ago that had something to do where you could put your phone into a container and it made it look like you were watching.
That was a long time
It was
ago.
not well done.
Yeah, I remember that.
But now I could see the virtual reality stuff and taking them into a Bible story. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking.
I think that's awesome.
I've got to try to figure that one out.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, have you checked out The Chosen yet?
Oh, yeah. Well, I watched the first part of it and then just
Yeah.
went off on something else, and I haven't
But it's
kept up with it.
it's
Slow
been real
moving for me.
I love it. I just absolutely love it. But it takes you into their lives, and
I like that kind
and
of
if you
stuff.
could do that in a virtual reality capacity, maybe take that imagining what it was like for Jesus when he was
Virtual
around.
reality will put you in the middle of it too. You're not just
Yeah.
like watching TV. You're a part of it, and that's what.
See, I've
makes
never
it so
messed with
unique.
it. My students are always like, "Miss Vivio, you need to do this. You need to." They always want me to do some kind of gaming because I don't do any gaming. I had the conversation with my son last night, and he finally bought a Stitch or whatever those things are called. It's like a little handheld game, and the young lady he's spending time with, she's into gaming, and so they're and I'm like, and if that's what you do for entertainment, as long as you don't overdo it. That's fine. I just don't have any desire to even consider picking up a game. But
The gaming and texting and the phones have taken our youth and not only youth, younger people, 20s and 30s, and separating them out from society, and it's causing problems.
Yeah.
AI is the newest
yeah.
thing on there, and we've talked about that, But I saw somebody said that stands for attorneys incoming. There's going to be a lot of lawsuits on this, especially one, you say you've written this, and AI wrote it.
You better believe it.
And the AI is getting better and better and better at that. So you can't recognize. I tried it one time, and I didn't think they wrote it too good.
Well, it's going to be a big issue in schools. I mean, I was talking with my principal about that the other day, and students that we have suspect that we think that they're using AI, and how do you prove it? And honestly and truthfully, my solution has been give them paper and pen and sit down there and do it right here in front of me, and just going back old school. And that's how I do all my tests is paper and pen, and that way I know that you know that you know
Well,
it.
I have some classes I remember in school, not high school, but college, it's inspirational. You sit down and say, okay, here's an idea, write something on it. And everybody would write about it and be different. And that, it stirs up the creativity in you, which we all need that.
Yeah.
You don't want to be just another square in a, a slot, but you want to be creative, and that will cause that when you force yourself to think of something that you hadn't thought of before.
Right.
And that disturbs a lot of people, especially in biblical stuff.
Oh, yeah.
If you bring up a thought, you can tell some you just don't want to do this because they don't want to hear about it. But, it's sort of educational. You got an education where you can entertain a thought and hold it and entertain another thought without getting mad or mixed up with it. You need to do that. You need to entertain. I want to know how other people came to where they are. I ask a lot of questions of people. Yeah. Not that I want to join them. I just want to know they have feelings just like me. They got there a certain way. I want to know how they did that and how they came upon that. And I've run across some strange ones on the internet. Oh, golly.
Oh, yeah.
And it's almost I want to grab them and say, haven't you read the Bible?
Yeah.
Where do you get this stuff,
Yeah.
But anyway, I made a talk the other day at a club, and I brought some of my stuff.
Okay.
I'm into history of Robeson County. And a lot of people are getting there. They're starting to study things, which is great. I love it. But my end of it, I want to know the stories behind the people, not just when they were born, what they died, and what they did, but I want to know why they did it, what they were thinking, what influences were on them. And so that leads to a lot of funny stories, too, which I brought at this club. One of them was a man's name is William Buster Brown. Buster was a nickname, William Brown. And back in 1956, 57, somewhere in there, our jail, you don't mind me talking about this, do you?
I think this is perfect. I don't have any agenda this morning.
Our jail was on 7th Avenue. Where the Commerce Union Bank used to be is now, whatever the bank, whatever the bank is now. It's across the street behind the old Bell building. And there was a fire hall and police station there. And back then, this was right after they got a radio. They put a tower up at the station there and radios in cars. They didn't have walkie-talkies. So they had a couple of cars, and they had maybe 4 policemen.
Yeah.
So this one night, late afternoon, there's a little restaurant up on Main Street right next to the theater, right down from it, caught on fire. So they left one man at the station, and his name was Murphy, and another 2 went up to the fire to help. Meanwhile, right before that, they arrested this man called Buster Brown. They knew him. He was and had a lot of involvement with alcohol. So
kind of like Otis Campbell from Mayberry, right? Okay.
Like that. So we had a jail, the county jail going down 5th Avenue Hill on the right where it was then, had actual cells, but the place they had to hold people at the police department was just sort of strong chicken wire. It wasn't the best there was, and it didn't have any place for women. So that day they had arrested a woman for something, and so they put her in the hallway and shut a door, locked the door, and she was in the hallway. Well, Buster Brown, they put him in a cell which was chicken wire. We'll call it that. So the other two policemen went uptown, and Officer Murphy was behind the desk, and so Murphy hears all this racket, and he went in the room, and Brown had torn the chicken wire apart, and he was getting out, and he got a stick somewhere, and he was beating this chicken wire, getting it down, and then he was trying to get into where the woman was, and he was trying to break the door down. Well, Murphy knocked him down and got his stick, but then he got back up, and Murphy ran into the office, and the guy picked his stick up again and started breaking windows out. They had a radio room there. They had just installed a radio.
Oh, my goodness.
So he was breaking out the windows, and the woman was screaming. So after Officer Murphy knocked him down, he unlocked the door where the woman was, and she ran out and ran into the street uptown where the fire was, screaming.
Oh, good land.
Well, the policeman up there, Jones Binkley was a police officer. He saw her, and she told him what was going on. Jones Binkley comes back to the station. He wasn't but 100 yards away. Comes back to the station. Meanwhile, Murphy was trying to control the guy with a stick. He didn't have a gun. And the man,
not like Barney. This is like something out of
like
Mayberry,
Barney
man. This is
and
hysterical.
the man that was broken out of the cell was looking for a gun. He was looking in the drawers and the cabinets and everything. They didn't even have a gun in the police station.
Oh, my goodness. What time frame did you say this was in?
56, 57.
Oh, wow. That long ago. Okay.
Well, I lived then. I know.
Yeah.
I know exactly how this place looked like.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here comes Jones Binkley down there, and Murphy runs out to meet him. And he says, "This guy's Buster Brown tearing the place up. He's drunk. He's got this stick, and he's banging the cabinet doors. He's breaking the windows out." And so Jones Binkley said, "Well, shoot him." And Murphy says, "I don't have a gun. You shoot him." So Jones Binkley hands him his .32 pistol revolver.
Oh, no.
Murphy shoots him once in each leg.
Oh, my
He had
goodness.
gotten outside by then. They shot him. So then they go in, and he was still fighting them. He shot in both legs, and he was still fighting them. So they go in and call the sheriff's department real quick, and they send 2 deputies up there in a car, and they put him in the car and take him down to the old hospital, which was, where the original hospital we had down on where the archives is now.
Yes, yes.
Well, they took him. That was built in 1935. So
Okay.
our new hospital was built in 57, I think. So
Okay, about that same
this
time.
was
Okay.
right before the new one was built. So they took him to the old hospital down there next to the jail to get him fixed up, and then they put him in jail. But I thought, just like Barney Fife, it was real.
Truly.
It really happened.
Truly. Oh, my
Truly
gosh.
happened. And I don't know whatever happened to Buster Brown. I tried to find him, and I don't know where he ever went to. But I remember Bill Gray telling me way back in the day, before they had radios, they had these call boxes on poles. He said, I remember one been on Cheatham Street, and what they would do if there was a problem, they'd run to the call box and call the police station, and they would send a car out there.
Okay.
So it was sort of different,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I remember my dad telling me when he got married to my mother, they were up in Louisville, Kentucky, they had needed a car, and he bought an old police car, and the radio had been in the back seat. It was so large, it was just a big square hole in the back seat where it was.
Uh-huh.
And he said it stayed more in the shop than it did they had on the road. They were fixing it all the time. But in the back seat, you couldn't use it because of this big hole.
That's hysterical.
But radios back then were very big and bulky. And
Oh, yeah.
you
Or cell phones. Remember those things? They were like in a
Well,
bag. Let me
I
pause
remember-
and do a break here,
Yeah,
Bill. We'll
go
keep
ahead.
talking, and I don't want to have to do all 4 of my ads while the Grays are in here. So let's go ahead and spread them out a little bit. I want to talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. My friends, I love these guys. They are so. I don't have any real estate needs right now because I'm not moving unless the good Lord makes me. But I can't begin to tell you, I see him all the time out in the community doing things for the community. I've talked a lot about how much Barry has come and helped me with my audio video program. He is the one who got me over my nervousness flying the drones, teaching the kids to fly the drones. He's helped me I just can't say enough. And I know I say that all the time, but truly, great folks in the community working to help the community. Rebecca is one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. Barry coming out of a marketing background. He is the expert in making sure your property is seen in the absolute best light so that you'll get top dollar for it. It's a different market than it was a year ago, isn't it? So you need people who know what they're doing. They specialize in Robertson County properties, but also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. You can contact them at sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com. Easiest thing, though, just give Rebecca a call at 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425, and let them know that U-Turn sent you. Bill Jones is in the middle of telling us all kinds of tales, and we just love it when you do that. My husband loves this stuff. Because it's so interesting for those of us. I got here in '92, so the place was quite different than what you remember having grown up here. So it's interesting to hear from folks who've been here for a long time or their whole lives. So
well, there was some. The reason I'm so familiar with the inside of that police station, in the 50s, some of us boys got in trouble on Halloween, had to do with toilet paper, and they were picking us up, and a guy named Donnie Poston, who lived down 7th Avenue, and we weren't caught. But we walked up to the police station, and across from them was a little park bench type thing in a tree. And we were hiding behind the tree, looking in the window to see what they were doing with the other friends that they got. And one of them saw us, and he said, "There they are. They were with us."
No.
Well, that's how I
Sold
know
you out.
what the inside of the police station looked like.
So they got you.
I did.
Oh.
But it scared us, but it was.
What'd they do to you? They just give you a good
Gave us a talk
to
parents.
you and called your parents.
No more toilet paper.
That's all it took back in the 50s.
Well, yeah, that's right.
You know, it's a different time, Bill.
Yeah.
It's a different time.
There was another guy named Robert Leon Benton, and this was about 57, 58. There was a lot of little petty burglaries going on at night in Springfield in that time. Cigarette machines, filling stations, just little things broken into and all. So Downey and Jones, which was a jewelry store uptown, there's a lawyer's office there now, middle of town across from the courthouse, they got their window broken out and a bunch of jewelry and watches stolen.
Mm-hmm.
So didn't know what was going on. And then that night, the sheriff of Davidson County, didn't have Metro back then, sheriff of Davidson County called our sheriff and says, "We did a sting operation in a hotel room where a man was fencing some jewelry and stuff, and we caught him, and the jewelry has Downey and Jones written on it." And said, "Well, who is the man?" They said, "His name is Robert Benton." And said, "No, you've got the wrong one. That's not him. He's here in jail." He said, "Well, you might ought to go check." He wasn't there.
Oh, my goodness. He
What
had
he
gotten
was-
out. They didn't even
What
know
he was
it.
doing, he was a trustee. He worked in the
Okay.
kitchen, and somehow he got a key to his cell, and he was letting himself out at night, doing the little burglaries, coming back in before morning, and they didn't know he was even gone.
Oh, wasn't
But
me.
this night,
Oh, my
he got
gosh.
caught in Nashville.
That's hysterical.
I have a picture of him. They put in our local paper. He was sitting at a desk, and the sheriff and another detective was sitting on either side of him and had all the stolen stuff laying out on the table there.
Oh, man.
And the last I read about him, he was a retired Baptist preacher in Nashville.
Are you kidding? That is too
But
funny.
he never would tell where he got the keys, so they added another year on to his his penalty he had there. But
Oh,
those
my
kind of
goodness.
things happen in small towns.
Yeah.
Another one that happened, they had confiscated some moonshine and stored it, and some of the inmates, of course, way back then, they would leave everybody there at night locked up and wouldn't even have anybody there to stay. And they got out and got into the moonshine, and when the deputy came back next morning, they were soused, sitting in their cell, drunker than a monkey,
They got into the evidence locker.
Yeah.
That's
And
hysterical.
when they built the hospital, they found there used to be a jail there, and there, the old hospital, they found some confiscated whiskey in the basement. Then they'd all forgotten about. Good stuff. No, the
Oh,
good
my
stuff, not the bad
goodness.
stuff. But anyways, Springfield's full of stories like that, and I had about 7 different people I was talking to about these stories at this club meeting I went to. So it's always interesting to know the truth
Yeah.
about people. But
Where do
that's
you
what makes
find this stuff? Where do you find these stories?
I just
Do you
dig around.
remember some of them in bits and pieces from your
well,
childhood?
I remember what the jail looked like.
Yeah, you remember that,
I didn't forget that,
but where do you source stories like
Some of
that
'em-
when you want to get the
well,
interesting backstory of a
I
town?
have some older people tell me,
Okay.
and some of them I can't tell. It's just, that's
You might embarrass
that's
somebody.
funny. Oh yeah, but I'm not telling that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this one. I won't mention names. I know the
Okay.
names. Well, I know the names, but I won't mention them. There was a man in an insurance company here called John Browder. He had Bell Browder Insurance Company, and it was located in a Bell building. A Bell building was about 4 stories, big building on the corner of 7th and Main. And his office was there. And some of his friends that had businesses on Main Street would go to on Saturday nights. And of course, it was back then. We were talking about in the 40s. They going to Nashville was a big trek. We zipped there in 30 minutes. This was an all-day deal to go to Nashville and back. So they were going to go to the wrestling matches on Saturday night, and they would tell these 3 guys, and they always went together, and they'd tell their wives they're going to a wrestling match. Instead, they went to speakeasy, which were all kinds of speakeasy. Could be a bar, it could be a nightclub, it could be even a house of ill repute, which this one was. So they would get up in the morning and get a newspaper real quick and see what the fight's results were. So they could go back and tell their wives, who won.
Oh, that's hysterical.
So John Browder, he'd have a little fun. He was a prankster, sort of. And one morning, I think it was on Monday morning, he called him up and he says, have y'all read the paper this morning? No. I said, well, the madam's sister over there where you all go died, and she left you all as pallbearers, named you all pallbearers. He said
no.
his back then they didn't have air conditioning, so they had the windows open in the Bell building. And I can remember going to Dr. Swan. You could see out the window and people, and if you started hollering people on the street, hear you in the dentist office. But anyway, John was looking out the window and watching these guys. And here they come running out of their businesses, running down the street, coming in the door of the Bell building, and there was an elevator there. But they didn't take the elevator. They ran up the steps. They were in a hurry. So they all get up there, and they're all out of breath and say, what are we going to do? Let me see that paper.
Funny.
And they get the paper, couldn't find it. He said, I was just kidding you.
Did they change their ways from that point forward?
He didn't tell me.
You would think they would.
I don't know.
Oh, my goodness.
But those kind of things, I know who the people were, and I didn't ask. I was just told they wanted to tell it real bad.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Other stories I find, just like I ran across one digging around the archives the other day. I found this marriage license copy of it. Was original. Cowboy Copus, he was a country music singer back in the 50s and well known then. And his daughter wanted to marry somebody, but his daughter was 16 or 15 maybe.
Yeah.
So she had to get permission from him to get married. So that his letter in there was written on his stationery. It said Cowboy Copus and a picture of him giving permission for his daughter to marry this guitarist that was in the band. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting. And I started looking around, and I found that Cowboy Copus' wife was still alive in her early 90s and lived in Nashville. So I just called her up, and her son answered. And I said, well, I told him who I was. I said, I'm a historian researcher in Robertson County, and I've got the marriage license of your mother marrying this guy. And if you all would like to have it, I'll be glad to mail it to you. He said, well, are you selling it? And I said, no, I'm not doing it.
Thought you might like to have it.
I'll send you the
Yeah.
original. I'll keep a copy and I'll have it, but
Yeah.
I'll send you the original. Well, they were tickled to death, and they
Well,
called
sure.
me back and thanked me and all that. But you just run into stuff like that. But the interesting thing about it, the man she married got killed in a plane crash with Patsy Cline out here in West Tennessee.
Really?
And there were 3 of them. He was killed in that plane crash. He was
What an
the
interesting.
pilot.
Yeah. Oh, really?
So that makes interesting stories.
Yeah. I mean, everybody knows the Patsy Cline
Yeah,
story.
but not anybody knows. I remember Cowboy Copas.
Interesting.
But if you look him up on the internet,
Yeah.
he was well known back then, the Grand Ole Opry.
Okay, so the guy who was flying the plane was the one he gave permission for Cowboy Copas gave permission for his daughter to marry him, and then he died in the
Robertson
plane
County.
crash.
People used to come to Robertson County to get married. I remember as a kid on Saturdays, people were all over the square up there. They'd go over at Dr. Wilkerson's office, which is on the south side of the square, get their blood test, and they'd go over to the courthouse and get married.
Really?
Bobby Jones, you don't know but he used to be. He's been deceased for a few years. He was a county commissioner for a while, and after he retired, he was in a tobacco warehouse business. He'd sit at the courthouse and marry people because he made money that way.
Okay.
So he was sitting there one day, and this couple comes in, and they want to get married. So he said, okay. So he said, what I normally do, when they ask how much, he said, I said, well, whatever she's worth.
Uh-oh.
So he told this guy, said, whatever she's worth, and the guy reaches in his pocket and pulls out some change and puts it in his hand.
Uh-oh.
He said, I never said that again.
That's hysterical. I tell you, we're coming up on the bottom of the hour here, and the Grays are supposed to be coming on in here. They didn't really know where to go, so I'm hoping they're out there. I'm going to go ahead and do a break, and if you don't mind seeing if they're here, and if they are, then we'll make the switch, and then I'll give you a call. I may have an opening on Friday, Bill, if you want to come in and do the Faith Friday segment. So, do you see anybody out there? Okay, well, we'll just leave the door open and see if the Grays come in. I'm going to pause and go ahead and do my break here. And then go ahead and leave the door open so they'll know where to go. Yeah. But I think they're done across the hall. But we'll go ahead and we're going to pause for a second and talk about Cumberland Connect. If you are looking for great internet service and you are a Cumberland Electric customer, well, good news. You're going to have an opportunity to connect with Cumberland Connect very soon if they haven't already gotten to your neighborhood. Best way to find out if they're already in your neighborhood is to get on cumberlandconnect.org, or give them a call at 1-800-987-2362, 1-800-987-2362. Put in your zip code, and they may say, yep, we're there, and we'll be there this week or next week. It's so funny. When I called them the other day about an extender, they said, well, it could take us a few weeks, and it was a day before I heard from them, and they came in and they told me exactly what I needed to do. They didn't charge me. They called it a site survey, and they're going to come back and do the work after we put some conduit in. So we'll have the same internet in my barn that I have in my house. It is the coolest thing. I'm so excited about Cumberland Connect. It is a great company. Join the Gig Club. We're all a part of the Gig Club. Bill's in the Gig Club. But you can call them and check it out. And if you're somebody that's struggling financially and you need some help, well, they've got an affordable connectivity program providing qualifying households with monthly credit to help pay for internet services. And if you're eligible, you could receive a credit of up to $30 per month toward broadband services. They've got packages that start at $30 per month. How about that? Check them out today. Cumberland Connect, cumberlandconnect.org, the place to plug in. And when you do, always let them know that U-Turn sent you, and then we'll continue on. We've got the Grays coming in because they're part. Have you heard about this Seeds of Hope Tour of Garden? Oh my gosh. Martha's Song is the nonprofit that was established to raise money for those that are dealing with cancer in Robertson County. Penny Callis, she is behind all this, and so many others too. She'll say, well, there's a lot of others too, Laverne. But Penny is the reason I know about it. And so you can stop by the gallery and find out more, but you can also just go to Martha's Song Facebook page, and you'll learn all about it. But the Seeds of Hope Garden Tour is coming up the weekend of the 17th, Saturday, June 17th. 8 unique gardens across Robertson County. Tickets are $25. Kids 12 and under are free. And it is a self-guided tour of just beautiful gardens. The Grays are coming in. Do you know Jim and Charlotte Gray? Here they are. Come on in here. Do you know these guys? No. Yes. Well, if you've never seen their garden, it's absolutely spectacular. Bill's tagging out. Do you know Bill?
I do.
Yes. But Bill and so they're going to talk for a second. I'm going to let them get reset. But y'all come on in here and sit. I've already taken Matt. I've got a couple more I need to do. I tell you what, while y'all are getting set, let me just go ahead and jump over and we'll talk about another beautiful garden. We're going to talk about Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. This is a place if you want to get something beautiful for your yard, if you need some advice about what happened with the polar vortex and all the things we lost because of the polar vortex. Come on in here, Jim. Thank you, Bill. I'll be in touch and may do something at the end of the week. So, but we're going to definitely advise you to go out to Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. If you need some just extra color, you need something to plug into your landscape where you've got something missing because of the polar vortex and things died, because it did in my yard, and I bet they'll have the same kind of testimony. But go out to Corbin and you will find still some beautiful bedding plants for your garden. If you want to have a vegetable garden, you could still do that, but you need to get on it. And that's while the supplies last. But they always have something new when you go strolling through the greenhouse, just beautiful stuff to plug in and make your garden just as beautiful as you can imagine. Beautiful hanging plants. They've got, of course, the gift shop where you can go in and get something handcrafted by Miss Jane herself. And they've got your CBD products that are Robertson County CBD products that help me tremendously with my arthritis. That may be a game changer for you too. Go give them a call, 615-384-3185, 615-384-3185. They're 4920 Highway 161. Open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5. Sunday, they're there from 1 to 4. And when you go by, let them know that U-Turn sent you. The Grays are here. These are old friends of mine. Get up on that microphone. Come on, Jim. Come on in here.
Morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. And this is one of those calls. It's like I wanted to talk more about the tour. You know, the garden tour that Penny and them with Martha's song. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun just to get somebody that's one of the hosts in here? And I know y'all's garden. And Jim, you're going to have to come around and come in. So you see here, look, we want to get you up on the camera, get your pretty face in there. So we'll get you all in there. Hi. How are y'all doing?
We're good.
It's been a minute since I've seen y'all.
Been a little while.
Hasn't it? Well, y'all look wonderful. It's good to see y'all, and thank y'all for doing this. But I know y'all's garden because when we were all with Good Pasture and all of that, I've had opportunity to be out there a few times. It's just spectacular. It's just absolutely beautiful. But I do have a very important question. You guys are probably the ones that got me on this English ivy thing because y'all have ivy everywhere. What happened to your ivy during the polar? Did you lose a lot of it? I lost a lot. Now it's coming back, except for on my trellises. It's gone. And I'm having to, restart it. Did you have a lot of ivy issues?
Back in the early 80s, the first ivy we planted, we had another cold spell and it died out a lot. And we replanted it with Thorndale ivy, which has a very, very large amount of cold tolerance. And so actually some of the leaves browned up and have died off, but it's come on out. It hasn't had too bad of a...
Did you have any that was climbing or was it all on the ground?
Most of that variety was climbing on the was not climbing, but it was
just
on the ground.
Scattered on
we
the
kept
ground.
It from climbing on the trees.
Okay,
it was on the ground. But I did have some pots of small miniature ivy I'd had for years outside, and pretty well killed all that.
Yeah, my English ivy is coming back up from the ground, but I had it. Penny will tell you the front of my house was just covered in ivy, and it kind of draped, and I loved it. Now some people thought it was kind of creepy, but I thought it was kind of cool. It wasn't good for the wood. Now that it's down, I'm like, wow, we needed to take that down. And in our house, we got to do some work because it will damage stuff.
Right.
Yes.
And I have got this wonderful tunnel trellis that I'm trying to cover with ivy. I'm turning my place into a place for photography. Oh. And we're going to do our barn. I do pictures, and that's neither here nor there. We need to talk about this, but I love your garden. And the ivy that you have is one of the reasons why I just had to have it, because it was so beautiful. So you're one of the stops. There's 8 stops, guys. This is coming up, not this weekend, next weekend. Next
Correct.
Saturday. It's a week from Saturday.
Day before Father's Day.
Yes, the day before Father's Day. And y'all have this. What made you start with the gardening? I mean, it is just like its own little world out there.
Well, the backyard was grass originally.
Okay. Well, a little bit of grass. It was wooded lot.
Okay.
Had a little bit of grass.
It was a lot of competition from Mother Nature, so we had to learn to live with Mother Nature.
Well,
the grass died. It got garden paths.
Yeah.
And then it got a pond.
Yeah. So you're the pond expert, I hear.
Well, I don't know about I'm an expert, but I have to do a lot of work with it.
Yeah. So, but well, what would people expect? So you're getting ready for this garden tour, and I gave them the particulars on it. One thing, you can go to the Martha Song Facebook page. If you just go to Martha Song Facebook, it'll pull up all the information, and they have been featuring some of the different gardens as they're getting ready. Because I know that you're going to go out to Shade Tree Farm. That's one of them as well. Of course, the Grays. You're going to go to their house. You're going to go to Jenny Justice. She has a beautiful flower garden at Normandy Farm Flowers. That's in Adams. So there's eight total locations. But if you'll go to the Facebook page for Martha Song, you'll get the. Or have they come out and taken pictures of y'all's yet to kind of tease people with the garden?
She asked for a picture, and I gave her one.
Okay, well, I guess you're gonna be popping up on social media here with a picture, because you guys will do. I mean, this is just something you had a passion for and you love, and I know y'all have
My
weddings.
family grew
sometimes.
up as gardeners, and if you
Okay.
like the woods, it's definitely a shade woodsy garden.
It is
It's
beautiful.
a spring garden.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if you drive up in the back and park in our, I guess you can call it our parking lot field, you enter through a trellis and you walk through the bunny trail.
Oh, fun.
It's dedicated to Beatrix Potter, the environmentalist. And
Yeah.
actually, at the Frisch Museum right now, there's an exhibit about Beatrix Potter. I've had people ask, they said, "Can we go to the exhibit and come down the bunny trail?" I said, "Well, sure, But you'll see all the little concrete characters in the Beatrix Potter stories as you go up and down the trail. And then it opens up into the backyard garden. Of course, it's all treed.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Well, and you've
rock
got.
Lots of shade,
walls,
lots of shade.
walls, rock walls, lots of wildflowers,
Uh-huh.
rhododendron, azalea.
Ferns.
The things that are blooming right now the most would be all of the oak leaf hydrangeas.
Okay.
The other types of hydrangea, and of course there's hosta blooming. It's like in the early springs it's full of Lenten rose. Now you have the green, but not so much the bloom.
Uh-huh.
It's been there's at least 100 variety of wildflowers or more. There's a couple
Wow.
that are still left. They're more earlier spring than now. The thing you probably see that grows that's the most interesting and sort of different is it's full of all kinds of ferns. It's full of the native Christmas ferns. A few of them, when we first started developing that garden, came off the banks of the Red River from Cedar Hill Nursery. That's what it was
Terry
called,
Mitchell.
was it? Terry Mitchell from Cedar Hill Nursery. Of course, that's not here anymore. But my husband's sister and her husband have a big farm acreage up in Camden, Tennessee. And if there's 10, there's 10,000. So over all the years, I've dug them and brought them back. Native Christmas fern, sensitive fern.
See, now I wouldn't know what they even look like.
Cinnamon
'cause that's-
ferns.
The most recent ones
Royal
I brought
ferns.
back were some very large cinnamon ferns.
Okay.
But I
There's
love to
ostrich
talk
ferns.
gardening. So if anybody likes to just wander and talk plants, we can wander and talk plants all you want.
I need to do that because I would love to learn more. And when I walk the wood, we have a lot of woodlands and stuff, and I don't even know what I'm looking at. And if I try to move it, where do I need to move it to? I talk to Amy Corbin about stuff all the time, and I'm not real good at staying in tending things later. Do you spend a lot of time in your garden just tending and making sure you have to water? Do you have to do a lot of watering with what you have? Or
It just kind of depends on the season. I will say when we built that in the late 1980s, we had a big drought going on.
oh no. Yeah.
And we watered ourselves to death for a year. And after that, we did put in a watering system. to
Okay.
Where when it gets desperate, we can get under the trees because leaves block so much water, But you have to definitely plant to your condition if you want
Yeah.
a successful and lower maintenance garden.
Mhm.
I mean, it is a spring garden. All the wildflowers come up. It's beautiful. But then you have to kind of cut all that back.
Uh-huh.
And once you've sort of done that, it just sort of will maintain itself,
Okay.
It's more of a cleanup in the spring, cut back, enjoy. And then when it gets really hot, you can kind of draw and retreat and look out the window at it because we do have a lot of glass in the back of our house.
Yeah.
So we enjoy looking at it even when it's hot outside.
It is beautiful. It is. I was blown away when I saw it for the first time. I remember, and I'm sure it has just, become even more so because it's been years since I've been out there. You had one of the things that I thought was really unique to your garden. You had a tree that was growing up on the wall, and you had kind of shaped it. Is that still there?
No, that was an aspalgar tree, which is
Okay.
like you say, you flatten it against the
Yeah, it
wall.
was really
It
interesting.
was not, our garage was not happy with that tree right beside it.
yeah.
So it sort of has a, almost like a serving wall, with
Yeah.
granite on top that solved that. But we, here, you probably didn't know, we now have a fairy house that was once a huge red oak tree.
Oh,
in the,
man.
in the curve of the stream, and of course it bent towards the rising morning sun, and the biggest half and limb of the whole thing hung over the house. And when you happen to have a 100-foot boom crane out there taking down a tree, you really had to take down.
You wonder about windstorms like we had here a couple months ago.
Yeah, that's the truth.
I
Yeah.
know. So we had the tree cut. I said, only if you leave me a big, tall stump where I can make a fairy house in the crook of the stream. So that's what they did. They
Oh, I
left me
love
about
it.
a 4-foot stump or something like that. And it has a roof, and it's got little gnomes inside the top and a little door. It sits there in the
How
creek of the
cute.
stream.
Light inside, it comes on at night.
I want to bring my grandkids out to see
Oh,
this,
you
guys. I
should.
really do. I have told people about your garden. I don't think y'all realize what an impression it made on me because it did. I mean, it's just I walked out there and it was just like walking into a dream. It's just beautiful, and I love gardens. I'm just not very good at it. I'm not very disciplined at it, and so the good Lord just grows it, and I'm like, that's real pretty, Lord. Thank you. But my son right now, they have bought a house up in Mount Juliet, and he has got this fenced-in yard, and he wants to do, just make it a garden yard. And I told him, I said, you need to go walk around the Grace. You need to go look and see what they've done with their yard because you can do, I mean, how much space would you think it covers? Do you know, as far as acreage and stuff, what can you do? Because, I mean, I don't remember it being just a vast amount of acreage. It's just, it's a yard in town that y'all have just turned
Yeah.
into this beautiful.
We built a house on the middle of 2 lots.
Okay.
We have 2 adjacent lots that would, like say, we use for
The
work
garden.
purposes or whatever.
Okay.
But most of the garden is within that 2 acres.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, you think about what you can do. You can do some spectacular things in a couple acres, guys. You got to go see this garden. I mean, this is going to be so much fun. I think it's just a cool concept. They've been raising money for Martha Song for years, and they've done it with shows and different things like that. And when Penny told me she was doing this, I thought, oh, that is such a cool
A long
idea.
time since they've done one of these. We had been on it
Yes.
a long time ago, once before.
Uh-huh. And go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to tell you when you were talking about the tree and the crook, the people that like the pond, it was, we originally, we put it in when he was going to retire. 'Cause
How's
we
that
need somewhere
going?
to do-
Retiring well?
I'm not retired.
Yeah, he's retired to the gardening work, but
Bill Jones was just talking about, he goes, ever since I retired, I'm busier than ever. So.
pond is really pretty, and the sound of it you're talking about, it sounds
Yeah.
so peaceful, but right in the middle of the town, between the wind blowing in the trees
Yeah.
and the running
People-
water.
Hard for them to believe that there's something like that in the middle of Springfield.
Yeah,
It's very,
it is. Uh-huh.
and we have that large A-framed rock and cedar garden house
Yes.
out there where you can sort of, actually they're welcome to stop there and take a restroom break and sit down and swing and take a drink of cold water and listen or watch,
Yeah. So you have the bathrooms in the garden house?
Yes, there is
I
a
don't think I
restroom.
knew you. I thought that was just just an open room. So have you always had bathrooms in there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't guess I realized that. So that's wonderful on the
It was a
stop.
screen porch that grew out.
Yeah, it was a
in
That
much
kinda-
larger-
It was a
kinda took
screened
on a
in
life
porch
on
that-
us.
Yeah, it
Yes.
got out of control. The screened in porch did. I'm like, I don't want to damage the roots on the huge trees around it. So
Mm-hmm.
they go, oh, well, you need post and beam construction. I said, well, okay. Well, the easiest way to do that is a little log cabin package. Show them a little
Yeah.
screened in porch picture. Well, the next thing I know, we have this gorgeous structure, and it's like,
It is beautiful.
and I'm just going to let the water just blow in. Maybe I don't think so, so kind of, but a lot of people have used it, and we're glad for them to use it. It's,
Uh-huh.
we use it a lot,
There's been
with
weddings out
church and
there.
weddings. There's
Yeah.
been a few weddings out there, and
Yeah.
it's
The hospital used to use it for committee meetings and things of that nature.
Yeah, get up on the microphone
Yeah.
for me. Now there's
Yeah.
venues
Yeah.
everywhere.
Oh, yes.
We had considered becoming a venue, and I just decided I'm just going to do pictures. And there's just so many venues, but yours is.
I've had a lot of people come out and take pictures.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It is a beautiful photo stop. I mean, if people haven't discovered, it is just absolutely gorgeous. To me, it is a very well kept secret because people don't realize you have this in the back of your house. Maybe you don't want a lot of people back there,
It's
but
surrounded by the trees, so it's
Yeah.
kind of like a wall of huge, tall trees. And
Yeah.
there is a stone rock wall
Yeah.
we put up kind of through it, kind of help keep the woods out of the yard.
Yeah.
And that worked pretty
Keep
good.
the formal from the informal.
there you go. But it is spectacular. You don't know what you're missing if you don't do this, guys. And I'm just so glad that y'all can come in and talk about it because number one, this is a great charity. My mom's going through cancer right now, she's in the West Kentucky area, and so there's a lot of expense that goes with it. And Martha's Song is dedicated to helping out people who are going through cancer in Robeson County. With expenses. And that's what they do with this money. Every penny goes back to help people that are fighting cancer. And if you've had to deal with it, you know what we're talking about. But you can be a part of this. It will be a beautiful day for you. And you can make the Grays be like your middle stop so you can go to the bathroom. But there are 8 different stops, and you just need to go on to Martha's Song Facebook page, and you'll get all the details. But it is on Saturday, June 17th from 9 a.m. to 3. It's 8 unique garden stops across Robinson County. It's self-guided. Tickets, again, are $25. It all goes to Martha's Song. And just can't say enough about getting your tickets. Now, they've got a QR code that you can go to get your tickets. Penny sent me some stuff last night. But if you go to the Facebook page, you'll be able to link it from there, but it's called the Seeds of Hope Tour of Gardens. And if you go to Eventbrite, you can get tickets as well. So go to Eventbrite and go to Seeds of Hope Tour of Gardens. Seeds of Hope Tour of Gardens, $25 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. All proceeds go to benefit the Martha Song Foundation that provides financial assistance to Robeson County residents fighting cancer. Again, just an awesome, awesome charity. I'm so glad you are doing this. When she told me you are going to be a part of it, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's going to be just wonderful. But let me pause for a second. Trying to think which commercial I haven't done yet. I have not talked about the Raceway. So give me a minute and then we'll finish up talking with the Grays, my friends. And we want to remind you about everything that's going on at Veterans Motorplex. I found my newspaper. I thought somebody had taken it yesterday, but this newspaper came out several weeks ago. They handed them out in school at the end of the year. You can find them still possibly at the post office, at Holman Jewelers, F&M Bank. It's Let's Talk Trash from the Keenan Group. Well, on the very back is a very valuable ticket. That's worth $40, that back page, because it will take up to 6 kids and 2 adults to the races for free with this back page. So you want to find this paper, grab this back page, and you can take this and go to the races anytime during the 2023 race season. And we're talking about Veterans Motorplex up in Greenbrier. If you've not been to the races, it's so much fun. They're at 6801 Kelly Willis Road in Greenbrier. You can give Jerry a call at 615-643 8725 615-643-8725. The gates open at 4 o'clock. Racing, I think, starts about 6. You will have the best time. Got a great concession stand, fun and games for the kids. You will not regret going to the races. And hey, go grab one of these magazines and you can go for free. And when you get to the races, be sure and always let them know that U-Turn sent you. And let's get back into our show here. I wanted to talk with you about the Seeds of Hope Tour of Gardens. So, what do you think, like, whenever people come in, so you're going to have them park, and then they're going to walk through the fairy garden, and then they'll come in and just have a chance to tour. Is there any kind of time limit on the time that they can spend out there? So, let me turn your microphones back up. There we go. There we go.
No time limit. You can come park there in the open field in Tremont, but you'll see the arbor. And
Okay.
actually, they're on the stone rock there. It says Bunny Trail this way. My granddaughter painted it for me.
Oh, that's cute.
And so you can sit on the little bench there and read
There's
a Beatrix.
benches around the place to sit down.
Yeah, and read a Beatrix Potter story, and then you can
How
you
wonderful.
just kind of come into the back and you can wander the paths and you can go into the garden house or you can sit. There's quite a few benches around, and if you like the water and the ponds, we have how many fish do we have now? 8, but they're quite large.
Yes. Boy.
A member at church they belonged to his wife. I think he'd been caring for them a long time. They're probably 40 years old.
What? Really?
He had him a
Wow.
long time, and we're like, oh, don't let them loose in the pond somewhere.
Yeah.
They're really pretty.
I'm
So
sure they are.
They live in our pond.
Are they really that large? I mean, Jim's, what, about 3
That's not a
feet?
fish story.
Yeah.
No,
For
they're not
you.
3 feet, but they're probably close to 20, 24 inches long.
Wow. Wow. I've got to bring my grandkids out. I've got to bring my grandkids out to see this because I just think that it's just so beautiful. So are you ready? Do you have it all ready to go? Do you pretty much keep it ready? Y'all maintain it
There
so
was a
beautifully.
fair little amount of
A lot of winter damage
winter
this year,
damage between,
like everybody had.
but not.
Yeah.
It's way better than you thought it might. It might have could have been.
Yeah.
But you just had to wait till the end of May to deliver everything to see what was going to really come out, and so much of it has.
Yeah.
So
And it may take longer.
yeah.
Well, yeah. and-
Well, it has taken longer to come out, so it's like you couldn't rush out and start pruning it.
I'm seeing things that are coming back, and I'm seeing a lot of shrubs that are just done,
Yes.
that are just gone, and
There's some species that just did not survive.
that didn't make it. But I'm having to cut things back. That's the conversation I had with Amy when I realized my ivy had died, or it was not looking good. She goes, just wait until about Mother's Day and see what happens. And when taking it down off the house though was probably good because, like you were talking about your tree up against the house, you get to a place where it's just not structurally good for what you've got
Right.
going on. And do you want to keep the house looking? And so it needed to come down, even though I thought it was really cool. It was different. But I just love the ivy, and y'all are responsible for that because I saw it in your yard. I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah, the
And,
interesting thing about the front, because that's the back is a totally woodland
Yeah.
fairy tale like garden,
Hmm.
and the front is a little more formally looking,
Yeah.
with these beds that have the ivy. Of course, when you put your trees within an ivy bed like that, you don't have to mow around so many.
Yeah.
It makes it very easy to mow.
Hmm.
And the one thing that our yard has that a lot of people's does not, in that sort of situation, it had zoysia grass, and this is the zoysia keeper over here.
What kind of grass is that again?
Zoysia.
Okay. What makes
It's
it
a
special?
hot season grass.
Okay.
It runs kind of like Bermuda,
Okay.
but it runs like as runners. But it's a very nice. The particular emerald zoysia that we put in is a very soft grass. It's like walking on carpet.
Kind of like a green carpet. People always ask what it is. It's not
Okay.
real common around here. You see it in golf courses and stuff like that, a little farther south.
Okay.
Um,
I've got to bring my son out. I'm getting ready to go to Mexico on a mission, and so after I get back from there, I'll give you guys a call because I know he'd love to see you guys. We've got a lot of history. They were handling the bus whenever my 4 kids started riding the bus, and it was like, okay, somebody's got to take over the bus, and we were the obvious choice because we had the most kids on there, and it was such a blessing for us. Thank y'all for introducing us to that because it helped us with tuition. It was such a blessing for us to be able to be at Good Pasture, and y'all started that. So we appreciate that and all that y'all did for us on that. And so it's just pretty cool. But I
look forward to hearing more about your children now. Your
Yes.
grown-up children. now.
yes, and I promise you, let me get back from Mexico and I'll grab him because he's got this yard now and it is a blank slate. And he really needs to come walk through and see y'all's place because he's wondering about what kind of grass to put in. And now he's got no shade in the backyard right now. Will it work there? Will it work in
Sure.
okay. Because, he's real curious about
It's
what
just
kind of
now
grass.
beginning to green up good. 'Cause
Okay.
It turns a nice straw-colored brown or whatever in the wintertime.
Okay.
And you can sure find weeds real easy with it.
Okay. Very good. So, because is there any grass that would hold its color? It's all going to go brown in the winter, right? Pretty much.
Any of your warm season grasses are good.
Yeah. Okay. He's got, because they live in a very tight little neighborhood with the houses are just so close together. It's a bit close for me, but that's where her family is and all that. And it's so funny. The guy right next to him has a plush lawn. I mean, it's just beautiful.
You
And
better
I'm
not
like,
have any dandelions then. He'll have to step it up his grass.
he's gonna have to get on the ball because his needs a lot of work. But they need to come out and see yours because I think the kids would just be like, what is this? Because it is. I cannot express enough, guys. My first reaction as an adult was, wow, get a ticket, take your kiddos. They're going to love the Gray's Garden. It is absolutely beautiful. It is just like walking in a little fairyland. It's wonderful.
Kind of the fun thing about it, the interesting thing about it is we have quite a collection of box turtles that lives there.
No.
In fact, for years, I kept seeing the same turtle come along till I put a 4 on his back, and it was the same turtle.
Oh, how funny.
And so we got to calling him Forzy, and then we found 2 more. It was, Twozy and Threezy, and then it was Onesie and Twozy, and then it was 7 and 8sy, and
Oh, my
and
goodness.
then we just kept finding more of them. And then right before COVID, Volunteer Gardener was doing some segments in our yard.
Uh-huh.
And of course they said, oh no, you can't, we've got to shut them down. Well, then they opened them up, but we had to stay 6 feet apart. And it was an
geez.
editing nightmare, but the guy did a great job. But we're standing outside the arbor and she was talking to me and I looked down and lo and behold, he says, what's that? I said, oh, Habsy. It was a little turtle that was about the size of a quarter.
Uh-huh.
And our granddaughter insisted it had to have a number on it. Well, shell was so small, number wouldn't fit. I just put a dot, but dot wouldn't do. I said, okay, we'll call it Habsy. So during the interview, I'm sitting here with Habsy in my hand.
Uh-huh.
And at the end, she asked me about it. So Habsy made the TV show.
So what TV show is this? I don't know about this.
Oh, it was the Volunteer Gardener.
Okay.
They had come out and done. They actually did 2 segments. I think they still run. One kind of talked about the bunny trail and hardscape, and one was about it was this time of the year. It was about the ferns and
all the
hydrangeas,
natural
the
stuff.
shade
Yeah.
loving stuff.
So I wonder if you can YouTube that.
Probably.
maybe.
I hear.
Okay,
I hear tell that it comes around. They.
So we could
repeat
just
it.
go Volunteer Gardener and go the Grays YouTube and probably find you guys maybe.
It was just a 10-minute segment or whatever on one show. So
Okay.
That's how they do it.
Okay.
3 shows, 10 minutes. 3 stops in a 30-minute show.
Okay. I'll have to go look that up because it is.
Springfield, Tennessee in there and put our name in it. It might come
up.
There was 2 different show segments.
there's some other places that have been on their show in
Okay.
Robertson County too.
Well, and I got to tell you guys, if I haven't, gotten you interested in this, I haven't done my job because I'm telling you, this is such a wonderful garden. You will be so blessed if you go out and number one, you're going to help this amazing charity that is putting cash in the hands of people that are going through cancer. And it is just a wonderful project. It's a wonderful fundraiser. My friends in charge of it, love you, Penny, for your heart for doing this. And I love these folks right here. They mean a lot to me. And it's just so good to catch up with you guys. And I can't go to their garden. Get a ticket to Seeds of Hope. We're just the same as out of time. Get a ticket to Seeds of Hope. And you can go to the Martha Song Facebook page and find out more. But it's Eventbrite, Seeds of Hope. This is happening next Saturday, the Saturday before Father's Day, great Father's Day event. And it's 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., 8 unique, beautiful gardens across Robertson County. And the Grays will be, if not your favorite stop, it's definitely going to be one of your favorites once you see it. It's not going to be a secret for you guys much longer, I think, as more people find out about it. But thank you guys for coming in so much.
Thank you very much.
Any
Appreciate it,
parting
Laverne.
thoughts before we go?
We'll see you down the garden path.
There you go. Absolutely. Jim and Charlotte Gray, my friends, and they are part of the Seeds of Hope Tour of Gardens, and we hope that you will be a part of that as well. Thank you for joining us here on One Street Over. This is 1100 WSGI. God bless. Have a great day.